Hi. It's a little late for me, but it's only 9 o'clock on the West Coast. All right. Uh, I learned a lot over the weekend, and what I learned is that when you think that someone's gonna support you, the support comes in the most unusual and not in ways you didn't think it would happen. And the people who you think won't support you surprise you and they do support you. So I learned that. Um, also, I'm going to talk a little bit about my mental health journey. Um, well, I have cerebral palsy, CP. Um, and so it's common to have anxiety when you have CP because you don't want to be a problem to other people and you don't want your disability to be more of an inconvenience than it is to most people. So, therefore, anxiety. Um, and I also have some other stuff that my life has not been a straight path, although I know that most people don't have a straight path, so I'm not alone. But to be honest, I should have been going to therapy of some sort in college. And I was, but what I'm saying is I didn't focus on the right things. Um, so then life kind of hit me with a 1-2 punch of suicide and COVID hit about a year later. So I had to deal with the pain of that and being alone, um, which only doubled what I was feeling because I didn't have anywhere to go with it. So I didn't find out that you could get help until after 2020. So I basically had to be at the end of um, my what I could take, and people could hear my voice that I needed help, so I got help pretty immediately. Um, which is good because I really was to the point where I know I need to talk to somebody with a degree and everything else, and just get the feelings that I was having out, so I wouldn't internalize it anymore. Um, but it's more than that because, okay, sometimes some people make you feel like that why are you going to counseling? Why are you getting counseling? Because and how long have you been getting it? And you know, and if you say longer than a year or something, they start to question you, and it just becomes a bunch of questions, and you have to kind of defend yourself and become your own advocate, which I've always known that part. But you have to say, look, I need to have someone professional to talk to. And there's no problem. Like there's no problem. There's no reason why you should not help me out. And so I use therapy um, every 2 weeks just to get everything out of my head. Because if if I don't, then I can kind of like it turns into something bigger and bigger and bigger, and then I take something so small and make it a huge deal. Whereas if I just get it out, it's not that big a deal. And and a lot of times You know how they say you're your own worst critic, right? Well, a lot of times I'll take something that I think and I'll actually say to somebody, I know this is stupid, but this and that's going on. And they have to say, no, it's not. Like, it's valid because it's valid for you. So I've learned to stop apologizing for things unless I really did something, because I would apologize because I thought I said something wrong and I thought I offended somebody like that, and I didn't do anything yet. So I had to learn that, and I had to learn self forgiveness, and also forgiveness for my mental health. Now, forgiveness for my mental health means I didn't forgive the person. I'm forgiving them so I can let go of whatever to get on with my life. So I had to come to that in a couple of years. I mean, it took me a while to come to that. But I'll tell you something. I always stood up for myself. I always did. But actually, the person I lost to suicide was the one who taught me to always believe in myself and to always stand up for myself. So now I'll stand up for myself even more than I did before. And I'll tell you what I really think in like a minute or less. No joke. And I'm not trying to be like, I'm not trying to be like totally offensive to anybody, but I'm also not trying to be so nice that I don't get out what I really mean. So, um, and this is what made me think of it because, Brittany, okay, Brittany Furlong, and you spell her first name traditionally, two T's, A-N-Y, but her last name is Furlan, Furlan, but she's also married to Tommy Lee. Okay, how she fits into this is because in the middle of feeling like I didn't know where to go, I knew I needed somewhere to go, through the middle of all that, I was watching YouTube videos and I happened to stumble upon hers, and she said, some of her videos said, I have like mental issues and all this stuff, and you know, and she explained everything she has, and it's not that she has a lot, but um, but in that moment, I didn't feel alone because I grew up where you didn't talk about mental health. You barely talked about disability. I mean, disability was evident because, like I've said before, you can't deny you're in a wheelchair. So that's kind of, you can't get around it. But mental health is, you can have a smile on your face and still have all these issues that no one knows about. So it's kind of like not a disease, but a hidden problem that no one knows you have unless you're vocal about it. And I guess my point in all this is that number one, it's okay if you need help. Everybody needs a little help sometimes. And number two, don't judge someone and be kind because you never know what someone's going through. And uh, just be open. Be open to someone. I'm not saying you have to be open to everyone, but be open to someone because the worst that could happen is you internalize it and make it worse. But also, the worst that can happen is if somebody turns on you and doesn't understand what you're talking about, then that means you're talking to the wrong person and you should talk to someone else and get whatever help or whatever you need from someone willing to help you out. So, I just wanted to put my journey out there. And let me tell you, it was a good, well, I dealt with my grief. I tried to deal with my grief by myself at first. That didn't really go too well. So I can honestly say I've dealt with the grief. It took me about a year, I say, an intense, not in, intense therapy, but not intense. And now I can talk about it and I don't cry. For the most part, I still get a tad emotional, but it's not as bad as it was. And, you know, and I just kind of use my therapist now as a sounding board. So, and sometimes that's all you need. You need an outsider that's not connected to anything, that just lets you vent or talk about whatever and not really figure it out per se, but just get it out. So, all right, I hope this helps somebody. All right, you guys. Good night. Bye.